What's up? We back.
Long time no see.
Long time no see. Shout real quick before we even get started. Shout out to Dr. Diamond. She can't make it today. Trust she's well and everything. Real quick, I have to make an observation. Before we got online, Bobby did not have the gamer headset on. I would have told him that's not a good look.
Listen, my girl said she not trying to hear you talk. That's all that happened.
Wow.
I'm trying to share
Big brother Uncle Logic gets put on blast now because you're messing up our brand with the headset. Bet she's not trying to. Wow. Really? I still love you, sis. All right. C talk, stuff to make you. Don't be putting her on blast like that. Trust black women. Believe black women. What's the quote say? Believe black women. Oh man. Shout out to Miss Future Alexander. I'm thinking put me on the spot. I forgot her name. Hey, I'm glad we back. AC Soul, I see you in the house. Philip, what's cracking out of Cincinnati? Got a chance to link up with my man Philip in Cincinnati. It was great. It was awesome. I'm gonna give you some time to tag some people and to share this video. Precious and Bobby, once you share the video, get my man DeAndre up in here. Was it DeAndre? Where's my guy at, man? Out of O'Day, man, the Irishman. You know what I'm saying? We gotta get DeAndre on here, man. He be keeping it cracking. Hey yo, what's up, man? What's up? Good to see you, man. I'm gonna let Precious take the lead on this one. Before we have C Talk, trust it or not, we do what I call pre-brief. And we get in the threads, we get in the messenger threads, and we all of us, at times, man, Precious and Bobby and Dr. Diamond be at it way more than me. They be going crazy, man. They're scholars. And we prep, for our topics. You know what I mean? So So I'm gonna let Precious go ahead, and I want you to say it exactly how you typed it in the messenger too.
Because like what I just said behind the scenes.
I told her that sounded like clickbait, and I'm all for it because I think the conversation needs to happen. Because what we're gonna do tonight, and it's gonna be quite controversial. I already know we're gonna combine several topics that's happened over the past 3 or 4 months. We're gonna combine them, and Precious has a question. What's the question as I tag my people?
Okay, yeah, you may have to find some people. Some people ain't popping up for me. I have no idea what's going on. But
it's all good.
I've just been sitting and been thinking since I last seen talk of and everything that has unfolded in terms of us, in terms of our community in the past couple of weeks. And and it's from can I say the topic names? Can I go to say the topic name that we're gonna talk about?
Go ahead.
Yeah, like from the R. Kelly sentencing, his verdict, what's going to happen to him, to the Britany Griner situation, and even to this fake ass McDonald skit we just had like a good 2 weeks ago, and maybe some other stuff, but those are the top 3 that just came up in our head. And looking at the responses from our community, I ain't talking about everybody. I don't give a damn about everybody. I'm talking about us. I'm just looking at us, how we're responding to it, our comments, that I can't help but wonder, are we okay? Like, why it seems like that? Why is the Black community so mentally ill? Like, why are we so sick? And what I mean by sick, I'm not talking about in terms of the flu or in terms of COVID. I'm talking about literally up here, how we mentally process things, how we analyze things. You would think after all that we've been through that we would have came with some level of scope of how we examine things, especially if we really want something better for our community. And it's some of the comments I've been seeing about these cases, these scenarios, it just makes me wonder, are we really okay? Like, are we still continuing to use white people as a metric of how we support and see each other?
Mm-hmm.
Because I've been under the impression for a minute that I thought we were trying to be better than them. But it seems like I've been fooled. Whether I've been fooled or maybe I misinterpreted what our goal is as a community is the whole time. Like it just, I'm like, what are we really trying to do? Are we really looking for equality? Are we looking for equity? Like, what exactly that us, the community, trying to do at this point? Because it's like we're allowing. Yes, I understand we're in a white society, a white patriarchal society. I get it. I know we're in a Catholic society. I get it. And I get it. There's just some rules, some games it's hard to avoid not playing. But it also kind of just like, at what point do you say, you know what, we're not going to go this far? Because
all right, let's get into it, because Denise is already trying to attempt at a Denise Walker is already attempting at a spoiler alert, talking about generational slavery. But that you, and I think that she's definitely right, but I think that is a broad brush. You feel me? Like that's a catch. You see me? Like, I think we can say that about pretty much anything. We can sum it up. Hey, why you eating what you eat? Generational slavery. Why you wearing what you wearing? Generational slavery. Why you dating her and why you treat them that way? Generational slavery. Right. So let's get into it. Let's get into the gristle. Let's bite the bone.
Okay.
What is it about this McDonald skit? Now some people, let me give some back, because I know Bobby want to say something. You know, he's over there at the gamer. He's like, let's talk about why people are calling it a McDonald's skit. And I called this at the beginning. I didn't want to be like, because I didn't know for sure. I had no proof. I was like, man, this looks like a skit. However, whether it was a skit or not, people weren't treating it like a skit. That's number one. They weren't. Those comments that were coming out of people's mouth, like F those kids, that wasn't a skit. That was real. The people was like, he ain't responsible for taking care of those kids if they ain't his, if he's not in a relationship with that woman. That wasn't a skit. The women that were saying, shh, she every right to go off on him and throw the food on the ground and not give it to the child. What? How, Sway? That wasn't a skit. The women who admitted if they had a baby with a dude, went over his house, would they get food from the other children? And they said no, that wasn't a skit. So what we're talking about is this skit. It came out later, it was a skit, but I never responded to it like it was a skit, because I analyze stuff. So, I'm going to do a solo seed talk on this too, to break everything down, how I feel about this, as a coach and as an educator and whatnot. And for those people out there who are tired of me reminding them that I'm an educator, deal with it. I'm proud of that. I'm professional. I get paid for what I do. Listen. So I guess he came over to the house. This is how the skit plays out. And you kind of knew it was a skit, because it was just like, oh, here he comes driving down the street. Here he comes. And I know he has McDonald's with him and he's going to try this again. I told him not to come over here and only get food for the child that we have together and not get food for the rest of the kids. Here he comes. Sure enough, he gets out of the car. And he has the bag of food with him, and they have an exchange, blah, blah, blah. Why don't you bring kids, food for the kids? I told you about not coming through here without no food for the children, blah, 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 whoop-de-woo. He's remaining very, very calm. She goes into full stereotypical racial profiling Black woman mode, yelling at him, cursing at him, making some valid points. But of course, when she's in full racial profiling Black woman stereotypical mode, it really demerits her points. Then he finally says, okay, here's the food. You want the food? Here, take the food. And she was like, thank you, finally. And she takes the food and she throws it out. And he drives away. And then everyone was like, oh, wow. Some people were attacking the Black man. Some people were attacking the Black woman. But from what I saw, most of the people were taking the Black man's side, based on how she acted. Because even if you were trying to do some co-parenting thing and feed the rest of the family, you're less likely to be receptive and cooperate with a person who's acting like that. And that's what was disheartening about the skit for me and about the whole thing and how it unfolded, because it really sat her. It makes it even worse that it was a skit, because she set herself up to be typecast as an ignorant person. Because who wants to cooperate with a person like that? That's the first thing I said. I'm like, man. But I was still able to walk away from it and have some advice from our brothers of how you could have handled the situation better. First and foremost, if a person tells you the rules of engagement when you come to their house, you follow them. If a person tells you don't bring food over here unless you got enough for everybody else, it's inappropriate and disrespectful for you to do that. You shouldn't do it. You should not bring no food over there in front of everyone else if you ain't got no food. My grandmother taught me that. I remember my grandmother used to take me to United Dairy Farmers. Shout out to Bond Hill, Cincinnati. It's a Midwest thing. It'll be just me and her. My cousins was at the house, at her house, because her house was the flop house. It was the headquarters. It was the matriarchal headquarters. She got me a scoop of ice cream. She got herself 2 scoops. She said, eat the ice cream before we get back to the house, because I don't want you to eat that in front of your cousins. That's just Black culture. So when Precious says, are we okay? Yes, that's clickbait. But you know what? That's good clickbait, because I asked the same thing. Are we okay? You know how many people I argue with about what did the children do to you? Now, he knows dang well. I'm gonna let y'all chime in. He knows dang well, and I'm gonna keep it a rack right now. I'm gonna keep it a kilo. If he was hitting that, he would have brought food for everybody.
Absolutely. And all of them who had their hair did too, all and slicked back and all. Absolutely. And the funny thing about it, you would think this should be common courtesy, because I'm not sure about y'all, but when I was in school, every time like Valentine's Day, you're supposed to bring enough that every student in the classroom gets a gift. It doesn't matter what it was. So that's why I find it so odd to see people react like that. I'm like, y'all never learned that if you don't have enough for everybody, not to bring it at all. And that's how we do it. Look, you need to be enough for everybody to go. Like right now, I'm planning my mom's birthday party. And I said, look here, if there's not enough for this to feed everybody, I don't want this at the party, because I don't want nobody coming there and unable to experience the whole event. But I thought that was common courtesy. I thought it was a courtesy thing, but you're absolutely right, Logic. And I even said that. And again, I don't have children, but yes, this is why I say a lot of people, and I know a lot of folks going to come at me for saying this, but I don't give a damn, but it's the truth. Typically, a lot of time with men, their relationship with children is based on the relationship with the mom or a woman. That's why I said what you said is true. If he had something going on with her, absolutely. Every last damn kid would have had a Happy Meal with a cute little boy.
That's a tough one for me.
Huh?
That's a tough one for me.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
You know why? You know why? You know why? Because I'm the product of 2 stepfathers.
Okay.
And they raise other people's children. However, I will say that attention did drop off when they wasn't with my mother anymore. So, yeah, I will say that. I will say that honestly. However, I saw those Black men do what a lot of Black women in my community would not do for other people's children. I will say that. In my experience, I've seen more Black men step into a situation. Now, you can say it might be, you know what I'm saying, because they were so romantically involved with the woman, and they had, you can even take a cheap shot and say they had so many women that they couldn't help being involved with so many different children because they were involved with so many different women. That might be the case. I don't know. I'm trying to cover all bases. But in my case, I've seen more Black men take care of other men's children that they have abandoned than Black women taking care of children that other women have abandoned. That's just my experience. I don't know how valuable that is.
You could be right on that. And I've always thought about that too, because I've been wondering if, because granted, I personally haven't, I have dated a man with children, but the reason why me and him didn't work out had nothing to do with the kids, because the kids wasn't living with him. They in another state at that time. But I do wonder if that has to do with the dynamics of it. Like, I'm just speaking from a women aspect. I could be wrong, but I be thinking in those scenarios, I think it's a little difficult for women. Let's say she don't have kids to date a man with children, because more times than not, the mom is always usually still in the picture in some shape or form. Whereas in reverse, let's say a man who don't have kids get with a woman who do have kids, the father may or may not even be around. He may be AWOL somewhere. Like, yeah, women really don't abandon their kids like that. So it's really, really, not saying there isn't, but I'm just saying.
My situation, because
I know your situation.
My son was definitely abandoned by his mom. And then
I'm pretty sure I'm just, again, I'm speaking from a woman aspect. I think the dynamics of what we have to deal with is different.
Yeah. And then to her credit, my former wife, the woman I was married to, she, helped raise my oldest son, who was not her. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure there's women who do, but I'm just saying, I think the dynamics of what they have to deal with in terms of a relationship with other people's involved.
And I want to get to Bobby, but I want to say this before Bobby. This is why I know it's important, and I know it is it's appropriate for us to, do this gender thing, what Black men do initially, right? Because we know there's a power dynamic. You feel me? A power differential between Black men and Black women. And I've always made this argument that Black men have more power, in this structure. Maybe that's changing, maybe it's not. However, I'm to the point where I've grown up and seen Black women be addicted to drugs just like Black men, and had to lean on their grandparents to, or their parents or the child's grandparents to take care of the children. They've abandoned their kids and whatnot. Have there been more men that abandon their children than women? Probably so. I don't know. But I will say, in the grand scheme of things, when we're looking at the impact that an insufficient parent has on a child versus the impact that an invisible parent or a parent that's not there and present has an impact on the child, it's pretty much a photo finish. I mean, like, if you really want to go say what's more impactful, the parent that was there and that was harmful, or the parent that wasn't there? Like, that's the kind of Olympics that we shouldn't be trying to win gold medals in.
Yeah, and I also feel like even with whichever parents asked to still play the big role. I saying that to somebody the other day. I said I think they both kind of play a role, even if they're not there. An absent parent could still have a role or some sort of impact. I don't think because somebody's not there, they are completely. I'm not saying they're completely not responsible or accountable, or well, technically responsible and accountable. But I don't know.
And here's the Denise Walker goes. We got to really, and I want to get to Bobby. Sorry, I'll pardon self, Bobby. We got an interesting thing going on the thread. Denise said, because women typically don't abandon their children. Now, this is what I want to bring some context and nuance to this situation as an educator. Yep, I brought it up again. It's what I do, because I have a lot of experiences in my 24 years. Y'all do understand that a person can have legal custodial rights to a child and still abandon that child.
Sure.
But you'll have and that's what happens a lot of time with women. I'm telling you this. People come to the school all the time as third party custodian, you know what I'm saying? Trying to say, yo, I don't have custodial rights of this child, but I want access to their grades, and their mother gave me permission because unfortunately they're struggling on drugs. Unfortunately, they're in prison. Unfortunately, they got a new family. So just because you have custody of your children on paper and it's documented does not mean you did not abandon your children. All right, I just want to say that real quick. Bobby, what you think, bro?
I'll just start off by saying that I'm the third party guardian here. I personally experienced that. You can call that involuntary parenting, you can call it whatever you want. And that's because there's trash mothers, trash fathers, trash aunties. There's trash of all kinds and all varieties. There's enough to go around. I don't think you have to pick anyone in particular. I think that's probably the number one illness in our community, is that there are so many parents who are not engaged at a level that makes extra people unnecessary, frankly. The fact that we need extra people shows a certain illness, but so does our willingness to turn trauma into entertainment. I mean, my first thought when I saw this skit was, why would you even put this out? Why would you use this as a representation of yourself, of your family? You know, I come from a clan where I wouldn't want my name attached to that. I don't see why anybody would put their face on it, frankly. So now you're gonna be the guy, you're gonna put your face on that. You're the guy that says, I only support children that come from my seed or else. Like, that's, you want that, you want your picture next to that in the dictionary. And then, and like you said, like the sister who's involved in this, like, so you want to advertise that you picked a man like this to have a child with, and then you also couldn't decide and had more children with other men too, and you can't seem to find their fathers to help support, and that's also now being advertised. So look at all this poor decision making that we're putting out as entertainment and as a representation of something that happens in our community a lot. And why do I say that? Because the commenters are triggered. And why are they triggered? Because it's a reflection of things that they're experiencing. I mean, that's the clown show, as Trisha is putting out right now. But it's sad because I hate seeing minstrel shows, and this is a minstrel show to me. That's exactly why I didn't watch Love and Hip Hop or any of this other stuff. Like, we make minstrel shows and then we celebrate them, and I don't get it. I won't do it.
I get it. Go ahead.
I want to add on to that. And it's funny how we look at trauma as entertainment. And I'm sitting here thinking, is that what a lot of comedians tend to do? They tend to use their own trauma as something to laugh at or to make entertainment out of. I mean, some people may just say they use comedy as a healing or an escape from their traumas, but Bobby said it absolutely correct. I never understood why that is a level of entertainment. I'm like, I don't know if this is something I would want to put out. Like, I'm not saying we need to act like we walk on water, but it just kind of just like, there's just some things like, you know what? We have enough of this out there in the air as it is. Do we need to add any more?
So I had a situation when Deanna and I first started dating where she came over for Christmas in my house, her first Christmas. My mom invited somebody over to the house who ended up causing a scene in the house. And to the point where I ended up asking that person to leave. And then they didn't leave immediately. And my older sister was there and she made sure they left. Now, I would never want people outside of my house to have to visualize that because it's embarrassing. It's not a good look. It's something that had to happen, but it's not something that I would ever put out there and go, this is the Alexander family. This is what we do. And that's like the type of thing that people want to be attached to now. And that's the illness. Like, you want to be attached to chaos. You want to be attached to things that are a negative representation of yourself. And then if you have that critique of it, then it's respectability politics. And that's where I get lost, because we have a term for creating some sort of cultural accountability. When we say this is a bad thing, then the retort is, no, that's, you want the white gaze. And it's like, well, no, you can think something is bad for us and not be thinking about anybody else. And that's the part that frustrates me the most, is that if you ever try to hold anybody in the community to any level of accountability at all, it's respectability politics. It's, you're doing it for the white people, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm like, no, like, sometimes we can have standards too.
Yeah. So much to unpack. um, I, I I get what Precious was saying. As a comedian, as a humorist, you turn your trauma, you know what I'm saying, into healing via laughter, you know, in comedy, in humor. Like that's what we do. This is something different because I didn't think that was funny. I think it's something that we would make fun of, but it wasn't funny. So if they wanted it to be funny, then they should have made it more funny. Like make it look like more of a skit rather than kind of like riding that threshold. And when it's all said and done, if you wanted it to be something serious, then add the social commentary. Like she let the cat out the bag, and I thought that was cool. I thought that was a responsible thing to do. Like after people like stewed on it for like a week and a half, 2 weeks, I thought that was dope. She sat in her car and let the cat out the bag. Hey man, look, we just messing with y'all. Look, da. But it wasn't no. What did you learn from it? It was like I'm let the cat out the bag because y'all think I'm the bad guy. He wasn't saying that when he was hitting it. Like what?
I knew she came out and revealed it, but I didn't know about all that part. I was like, okay,
yeah. She
I
said
know
that.
about the extra part.
But here's the deal. I'm gonna push back a little bit on Bobby and on YouTube, Precious. I was mixing Trisha and Precious together. Let me ask you a question. Is it fair? What do you think about the idea? If I were to say, because I am saying this in my head, if they were more employment and economic opportunities for Black people in these situations to make money, would they do this? Because I think that we have a cross section of and a demographics of our Black community that the crass consumer capitalist, machine has conditioned this people. This is how you make money. You do the buffoonery, you do the stuff, and then once you make the money, you don't have to act like you were acting on screen. That was just online. You know what I'm saying? But if there was more opportunities for these people to get an education and have more access to resources like, the white people and the melanin deficient people have, then they would do it. Because listen, all three of us come from a different thread. And our brand on C Talk is totally different. Perhaps we would be making totally different type of brand of social media entertainment and edutainment if we didn't have the kind of privileges and the economic background that we have and the educational background that we have. What do y'all think?
I mean, we're not going to argue about that, of course. I mean, that's the layup. No, I don't disagree with that. I would say that I can be as righteous as I am because I have the privilege of doing it. I can do something else. I think some of that where I would like to fight back, though, is I don't know that those people can't do anything else. Although I do think that is the quickest route, and obviously that's attractive. I don't know if they're completely marginalized and that's the only thing they can do. But I also, like you said, I understand that a route is a route. Like
that's fair.
A job is a job. I'd never, people argue about, oh, you work at McDonald's. I'm like, okay, you got a job at McDonald's then. Congratulations. A job is a job. So, but I do think there's a certain amount of privilege when you say, I think that I believe or I don't think this is good or bad. I do think that we take those positions because of where we're at and because of what we have access to. So I totally would acknowledge that, but I don't know that that's something that we want to participate in as a culture. I'm not really speaking on the people specifically, but as a culture, why do we celebrate it? Why do we give in? Why do we on the outside because it's me and you, right? It's people like us that are watching the video that we're pumping it up. We're the ones that, in my opinion, are promoting it. So I'm curious. I understand the person who's making it and their reason, but what is everybody else's excuse for clocking in, so to speak?
Because people like sensationalism. They like the clout. That's really all. That's why I tell people all the time, whether the publicity is good or bad, type of publicity is better than no publicity, because that's just attention and views that the person's going to get. So when you in a world of social media where everything is so quick and instant, that even doing something that what we would deem as distasteful will bring thousands and thousands of views, they're going to do that if it's going to bring that's what's going to bring the views and, dare I say, bring the cash, depending on what platform you are. Like that's well, Logic say that the thing that is a clickbait. Well, guess what? That's what a lot of people do. They do is say things as a clickbait because they know it's going to trigger people, and they're going to run to the comments, and whether they're gonna whether they're gonna take it in, or they're gonna participate in it. Either way, you did exactly what they wanted you to do, and that's to pay them some attention. But
yeah, yeah, well said. And let me, I want to get to that attention thing. I just want to get to some of the comments real quick. Trisha says, so there is an element of classism in it. And
yeah,
ignoring the mental illness or zero standard expectations of our community. And then Rail says, shout out to Rail, Midnight Taylor. Check out Rail and Midnight Taylor. He has his own clothing line. Rail, why don't you put the link to your website in the comments, man, and get those sweatshirts and those t-shirts. He's going to be a vendor at the Grill Party Experience this Saturday at Langston Hughes. But he said their objective was to make a name for themselves, and it worked. Look at all the attention that skit received. Yeah, that's true. Now, look, this is another thing I did. It might have been a little unfair. I don't know if y'all do your research or not. I went on Girl's page weeks ago when this first popped up. I was like, man, who is this sister? And this is what she does, man. She makes funny skits. She does skits. She's been doing this for a minute, and they're actually pretty good. So I'm like, it is a job. For anyone out there to think that when these people are out here on this social media influencer, you know what I'm saying, campaign, and that it's not a job, try to do it. Try to do it. Try to make money off of this. Try it. I dare you. Go for it. Quit your job.
It takes work to put those things together.
Now,
it does take work.
Shameless plug, proud father. My son just now went viral on Instagram. He's up to 4.5 million right now on views on this little skit that he did. But this is work. Instagram notified him saying they're willing to pay him $1,200 a month if he keeps his subscribers up to 10,000. You know what I'm saying? Per month. So, hey, my son has a job on top of the other jobs that he does. That's a job. I said, son, you got to, hey, bro, you got to be posting at least 3 times a day now, man. This is the real deal. This is the big leagues.
Yeah.
This is what he wants to do, though. He has a college education, and still, this is what he wants to do. He has a degree from Xavier University, and this is what he wants to do. So my question is, what makes these people who turn our trauma into entertainment any different than actors when they get on a movie screen?
I don't think they are different. I think that you see the same thing in the progression of the career of Black actors, like Michael B. Jordan or Chadwick Boseman when he was living would talk about how when he initially started, he had to accept certain roles, and they were all roles that were about trauma. And he ends up getting fired from All My Children or whatever daytime soap he was on, specifically because he asked a question about character development when he was when he had the stereotypical role, and it got him fired. Now, he got lucky because he obviously had connections, and his career ended up picking up, but Michael B. Jordan took his spot, and that's how Michael B. Jordan's adult career started. And so you can see that there's just very few slots for Black people in these industries, and the opening act for a lot of them is to do things that are kind of debasing or that are undignified. And I don't think that social media is different. And then if you talk about the algorithms, they're not neutral. So it's very likely that the things that the algorithm promotes with respect to our community are things that are not healthy for our community, but that want to be viewed. So I do think that there's a lot to that. But like I was saying, you'll see actors do the same thing. Bozeman hits a certain point, whether it's career safety or it's financial safety, and he goes, I'm graduating from this role. I'm not doing this anymore. Y'all not going to make me do this. And we do the same thing. So I actually don't think it's different. I think it's the same. But I guess that if we can signal as consumers that that base role, that starting role, that undignified role is not something that we value as consumers, and then there would be more of a chance for that to go away as a starting point. But if we continue to consume it as prime property, then that's going to continue to be the starting point for everybody in the industry. And that's my issue. That's why I always aim it at, why do we consume it collectively?
Man, that's dope, man. That was really dope, because it brings it back to what Trisha was saying in the beginning. You know, in comedy, we would call this a callback. Like, are we okay? Like, why are you consuming it this way? It goes back to the thing. Okay, now it's a skit, but your comments weren't a skit. Those were real. How you're going about, you know, perpetuating, you know what I'm saying, certain traumas in our community is real. That's not a skit. And you know what the crazy thing about it is? Those two people in that skit could possibly have the most healthy co-parenting plan out there. But y'all are out there perpetuating anti-community values based off that, taking sides, whether it's the male or the female or whatever. Or you might just be in the middle trolling, gassing people up. And then they go back to their community and regurgitate this trash. So it may be clickbait when Precious says, are we okay? Why are Black people so mentally ill? And it might be a sufficient peripheral starting point to say generational trauma, post-traumatic slave syndrome, conditioning, you know what I'm saying? But the real question is, how are you educating yourself to be better? Because the bottom line is, what did those children do to you?
So Precious, I want you to talk about this because me and you had this conversation. But when you talked about, you know, you try it, you out there, consumer of our show, you try to, you know, become a professional in this route. I often think about how we make a decision on this show every day not to take the low-hanging fruit, because Precious, you know, put a link out there in our little group chat and said, hey, over 50% of podcasters that are Black are relationship podcasters.
Yes.
That is the low-hanging fruit. If we wanted to be viral, if we wanted more subscribers, we could do that unhealthy shit if that's what we wanted.
Probably could have. You're right.
But I'm saying we're choosing not to.
Yes.
We're doing that consciously. And now, you know, just based on this conversation, it's like that's not in our best interest. But our interest here is while it might be financial at some point, that's not why we get on the show. And so, like, I think that if anything, we should be proud of ourselves for not participating, because we would be hypocrites if we were.
Of course. And you know, and that's thing to think about. That just remind me how musicians are. They put out a certain content that many of us are like, man, this is not the content that I think is good for our community. Meanwhile, behind the scene, they probably living their life the way that we would like to see it portrayed in the music, but we don't see it that way. At least they're not putting it out there for us to consume. So yeah, that's where a bit of a little how you put it, a personal responsibility kind of come in, that you have to make the correct judgment for you and what you think is best for the community. But some people don't operate that way, and that's what I was saying. I love how our show is. We talked about relationships on here, we have, but that's not the meat or the base of our conversation. At least most of the time it isn't. But I let our viewers determine if that's what we do or not do. But
hey, listen, let me tell you something real quick. I'm gonna go ahead and answer that question for you. The viewers know we don't do that. Let me go ahead and put this out here real quick. They know that we put out the bait out there. We talk about some pop culture stuff. I've tried to get people. I strive to get people on this show, and they say, the majority of people, you know what they say? Hold on, let me get back to you. Then they finally say, nah, not really. I'm intimidated by that platform. The way y'all be talking, I gotta have my stuff together because they know it ain't gonna just be no Kevin Samuels with those other brothers that do the round table and they be going around the table and they be having your boy Tony Sotomayor on their show and they be fighting on the show and stuff. I'm like, we don't do that. Now it might seem intense, you know what I'm saying, if you ain't got your stuff together, because you know we all gonna push back, and then people be in the comments, but at the same time, they know this ain't no junk food. Not everyone can, digest, the kind of diet that we got. Their system.
Some people are just drawn to the toxicity of it. Like some people feast off the toxicity. And I don't think our platform, I ain't trying to brag, but I don't find our platform, our panel toxic of any means. And we done had different people on our show throughout the time. But even then, when we do talk about topics, even maybe something associated with a little bit of pop culture or whatever, it still don't go to the toxicity. Like them clubhouse conversations that my friend be bringing me to in the middle of the night be toxic as hell. And I was thinking, how the hell do y'all sit through this? I'd be damned to get on this platform. Even look here, there's a little sign I just saw the other day. Don't get in the pen and play with pigs because both y'all just gonna get dirty and the pig is gonna like you. I'm not getting in the pen, okay? I'm just not.
So Precious and Logic, this is a question I'd like to spit back. If you do think about it like a diet, does it feel like our community is stuck? Does it feel like our community has diabetes? And we are diabetic, literally in a literal and a physical sense, statistically speaking, proportionally. But I'm wondering if that's also what's happening with our consumption of media and our consumption culturally. Are we diabetic? Are we infatuated with things that are not good for us? And then it's like this other healthier items are too expensive, or are they truly only for the people who can afford it? That's kind of the question that I'm getting at. Is it unreasonable to expect people to shop at PCC for content when the most easily accessible things are at the corner store? I mean, and that's, your Instagram, etc.
I think that's entrapment right there. That was a setup. That was a setup for a layup and a dunk. I'm not going to fall for it. This is my answer. And this is an honest answer. This comes from my heart, not my lips. And just from my experience, in all seriousness, I think by theory, we are the most revolutionary and healthy people on this planet. But by practicum, we are fast food eaters. We're junk food eaters. That stuff sounds good. And we can sit in the barbershop and man, we could chop it up. Hey, who come to the men's group? Everyone raise their hand. There'll be a room for the 30 people. Show up to the room, be you and the same guy that's been for the same 6 or 7 months. Now that's an actual fact, though. That actually happens. I didn't gave out the link to a whole bunch of brothers, and at first it started off, we had like 5-6 brothers on there. You know what I'm saying? Me and this other brother. You know what I'm saying? I ain't gonna put them on blast even for good reasons, but that's enough. It's quality over quantity. So I think collectively, yeah. In theory, hell yeah. We some of them. That's why everyone all over the world comes to Black people for the answer. Hey, what are you guys doing to combat the oppressor? And what are you guys doing? We could tell you in a minute. Like we're like,
I'm a gate. My inner gatekeeper jumps out and be like, "Why we got to worry about you? We got to worry about us."
Yeah. We can tell you all kind of books we reading and this, that, and the third. We can cite all kinds of dates and whoop-de-woo. And he's like, hey man, let's go do something. Let's build a school.
Oh, leave Umar out of this.
I gotta give.
It's not just him. It's not just him. You know what? I'm not even talking about. I'm talking about him. Like
that's my toxic go-to, Precious.
That's my toxic go in Umar. I like Umar. Don't do this thing. I actually like him.
Hey, some decades ago, we tried to do a Saturday school, and it didn't work out. It didn't work. So I'm telling myself too, it didn't work, and that was the reason why it didn't work. I don't know
Why?
because it didn't happen.
Because people didn't show up?
No, because I was a part of the original plan and it didn't work. I was a part of the core group. Me and Bobby and I were a part of a group called Core. I was a part of like creating that name. It didn't work out.
Wow.
I guess that L's on me too.
It happens,
That's
bro.
an L for me too.
But that's how we met. I mean, we probably would have met through our parents at some point, like peripherally, like from a distance. But Bobby showed up, 5'2", buff, looking like Mighty Mouse, and was.
Why are you picking on Bobby?
We thought he was security or something. He was walking around on, But anyway, no. But I've tried several times, and the fact that I've tried several times and I feel I got to check myself and say, man, I might be part of the problem. Shit. You know what I'm saying? Like I've had a whole bunch of failed projects, but I'm gonna keep going. And I ain't making no money off of that. I'm not a charlatan or nothing. I'm not, it's not like I'm selling sea moss and promising you that, what I'm saying, I'm gonna get you to the promised land. I'm not trying to say I'm gonna, cure your diabetes with this serum I got, you know what I'm saying?
Oh man, that reminds me of a scam, but we're gonna say that for the next piece.
Yeah, you say that. You remember when I was Bobby and I don't think you were there. One meeting that we had, one of the brothers came through and was, teaching us how to, make our own alkaline, water and trying to sell us. I think it was like a machine for
water machine, like 6,000.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
At least I'm not running around trying to sell y'all Avon and prepaid legal. I mean, come on, man.
Hey, that's so soft from Avon. That's a mosquito repellent. Speaking of which, I need to order me a bottle.
It really is, though.
It really is. Like I remember still like, hold up. I had to ask if they still made. They said, yeah, girl. They sent me the book and everything.
They actually accidentally put a mosquito repellent in Avon. They found out that it was mosquito repellent because a lot of people were buying it, and then they actually created their own bottle of separate repellent to go along with their other products. Yes, that's a fact. Look that up, bro.
Whoa. I heard
Look that up.
I remember that stuff from way back in the 90s. I didn't know they still made it, but they still do it. They got a different scent now, too. They got a whole line.
I can't tell you.
So I want to go back real quick because I've been thinking about this ever since since we kind of touched the question. When we were talking about child abandonment, why do we think that child abandonment is a one-party situation? And so here's why I'm going to raise a question. So most of the child abandonment that I attempt to prosecute, because this is literally a part of my job, involves a female who abandons a child and she's with her boyfriend. The boyfriend is typically not the child's father, which means the father is not around, which means, in my opinion, there's two people who have abandoned the child and one person, the boyfriend, who's a neutral party at worst, but is participating. But if from my perspective, it doesn't matter who abandons first. From my perspective, it's two people now who have abandoned the child. And I think that it would be short-sighted, especially for, as a man, to look at single moms who end up in these abandonment situations and then say, well, it's the woman that did the abandonment. Well, no, both of you guys are responsible for the abandonment because both of you guys are responsible for the child. I can tell you firsthand that the situation that I'm in wouldn't be happening if there was one responsible person amongst the two of them. Mm-hmm. So it's not about one person failing at all. And I think that as a community, if we can get away from the idea that one person failed and not that both parents and the community at large failed, because how many people are born, and I understand that some are born, but how many people are born into situations where there's no grandparents, no aunties, no uncles, no cousins, just two parents? I don't know that statistically happens a lot. No, so when a child is abandoned, they're abandoned by more than just their parents and more than one parent. And if we continue to think that collectively it's just the two people's responsibility or just one's, we will continue to have abandonment.
Thank you. Thank
That's
you.
what's gonna happen.
That was very efficient. Well said. And like Precious so eloquently clickbaited said, are we okay? What's wrong with y'all? It is a form of abandonment when we look at just two parents raising this child. I know it sounds cliche, very Lion King-ish. It takes a village. It takes a village. And so, you know what? We ain't even gonna get to the other ones, man. You know, we ain't even gonna get to the other topics. We're just here. We'll have to tackle Britany Griner, and we'll tackle the R. Kelly sentences. And I also want to talk about Bobby's boy at some point, Nick Cannon.
The traveling Dick Cannon. That's exactly his name.
Nick Cross Contamination. That's his name.
No, don't do that to him. Don't
Yeah, I'm
that.
doing that.
No, don't do that.
Don't do that.
Don't do that because you can't.
Yeah, the traveling D.
But listen,
Yeah.
I want before we get off and we get to the plan of action for the day, because we only did one topic. Where were you going with the R. Kelly sentencing and Britany Griner when you said, what's wrong with us? Are we okay?
Because I'm trying to wrap this up the quickest I can. I was looking at people who were saying that R. Kelly does not deserve to get 30 years in prison because...
Who said that?
Logic. I've been battling with these fools for the past couple weeks. This is the shit I'm asking. Are we okay?
Who said that?
There's people who are saying he should not have gotten 30 years. In fact, the parents should be getting jail time too, along with the flunkies.
Yes. I agree with that.
And let me just say this. I say, you know what? I did say the exact same thing when this situation blew up. But now I'm sitting here thinking about it, and I'm thinking from a logic standpoint, no pun intended, I'm thinking R. Kelly is doing time for what he did. Not what the parents did or didn't do, or what his flunkies did or didn't do. He's going to jail for what he did. He being held accountable, responsible for his actions and his hands in the deal. Now, can you want to put the blame? Sure, you can blame the parent, but who's going to sue him? Have R. Kelly tried to sue the parents?
It wouldn't be anyone suing them other than right? It wouldn't be other than the state, right?
I'm assuming Bobby, you in this. I'm not sure who'll be able to, if they wanted to take the parents to trial. I don't know who's going to sue them.
You sue the parents for serving up the child?
I guess that's what people are saying.
There's only one person who has the standing to bring that lawsuit, and that's the child. Everybody else is just a sideline watcher.
Yeah, and that's what I was saying. Like, yeah.
So wait. So the state or the courts can't bring a pimp?
So there's a criminal action and a civil action. When you say lawsuit, my first thought is civil. So I'm saying
criminal. I think the parents should be.
Oh well, I mean,
they should be co-defendants if it's proven that they offered their children up.
Oh sure. Criminally, yeah. But I'm saying civilly, the only people who can sue the children have a right to try and get money from the parents for serving them up.
Yeah, they ain't gonna do that though, bro.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Trisha, also that's not also what happened in all cases. Yeah, not all cases was like that. That is very true. Not all the cases that he was getting involved in was part of that. Yeah, that is true. All cases didn't fall like that. So I'm just like, so for those that's messed up, he got 30 years and he shouldn't have got 30 years. My question to them, then what do you think he should have gotten? What would be the most rightful punishment for him if 30 years is not it?
Okay. And then what were you saying real quick before we get to plan of action? Because
Britany Griner,
Yeah, what were you saying about Britany? Go ahead.
What we talk about on pretty much on your posts, especially the post that we did. People were saying that, oh well, she shouldn't did this. She should be held accountable. I'm like, first of all, do y'all even know what accountable even means? Because she is being held accountable. It's just like y'all. Yeah, she definitely being held accountable. So this notion that she needs to be held accountable. Do y'all even know what the meaning of accountability actually means?
Well, they don't, because they don't know the difference between accountability and abuse.
And not only that, I think what people really trying to say when they say accountability, they really trying to say blame. It's really what it is. You're trying to say blame. I mean, yes, she is responsible for her action. No one's dictating that she's not. But my thing is, since when y'all became so upholding laws that even here is unjust for us, but you're so like since when y'all jumped on the Russia bandwagon all of a sudden?
Yeah.
Like how the hell y'all switched that quick?
last time I checked, you know what I'm saying, brothers and sisters in the States, especially brothers, you know, that I hang out with, are wondering why white people, melanin deficient people, are able to have cannabis shops on the same corner where brothers were arrested and got their third strike and now are in prison for 60 years.
Exactly.
That's the last time I checked.
So it just like, that's why I'm just like, why y'all look here? Yeah, she is in a different country, but how y'all say, well, that's Russian law. We have to go by their laws. Yeah, sure, but at the same time, their laws is really no different how our laws are. So how all of a sudden you're so for the Russian laws, but when it comes to us, especially black men and millions of black men in prison for the same exact thing that she's going to jail for, oh, the justice system unjust. Yes, it is, but you don't find the Russian justice system to be unjust as well? Like, why there's such a difference?
And you know what? It's just so simple. I just want to hear them say it's wrong. It's wrong.
Yes.
It's wrong. It's not right. It's abuse. It's beyond accountability because she is taking responsibility for her actions. She has no choice but to. And that's how it is in most cases when you're outpowered. I just want them to say, that's wrong. That's wrong. She even has to go to another country to play to make, you know what I'm saying, make a living.
You know what I mean? That's why she's even over there. And that's so funny here. So why is she? I don't know why she's doing over there. She's going over there because Russia paid her more than the U.S. was willing to pay her to play at a sport. They was offering more money, so quite naturally, people gonna go where the money is.
Okay, I gotta jump off real quick. I gotta go into this meeting, but what's the plan of action real quick before we jump off? I want to invite y'all to the Griot Party experience this Saturday at Langston Hughes at 2 p.m. We're having a Griot Party experience, spoken word, storytelling theater. You know what I'm saying? The first 5 people to inbox me, go ahead and inbox me at Logic of Man on Facebook. I'm gonna give you 1 ticket to get into the show for free. Spoken word, storytelling theater, live band, DJ, and historic Langston Hughes in the Central District. So this Saturday at Langston Hughes at 2 p.m., Langston Hughes Performing Arts Institute. First 5 people to inbox me on my Facebook or my email, whichever one you guys got, logicguyman@gmail.com. I'm going to give you 1 ticket to the show for free. I'm going to put your name on the list. All right. So what's the plan of action based on what we said today about what's wrong with us? Are we okay?
Yeah, what's wrong with us? I'm going to try to wrap. I'm trying to wrap to be quick about it. I'm at this point that I'm looking at the art, the black community, pretty much like as I play my favorite RPG game. And the RPG game is based off of health points, and that is the health status of your characters, and of course the enemy that you're defeating. So, in terms of health points, as a member of the game, you have to figure where is your health points at. Are you on the low side, or are you on the red side where it's low, or are you on the green side where it's good? And if you see that the black community is in the red, are you going to heal that community, or you're going to add on to the abuse and keep bringing it down to it's depleted to 0 and it's game over for the black community? You have to start thinking, how are you operating in terms, especially these foolishness that we've seen out here. Do you really approve, especially if it's a toxic one? You need to ask yourself why you find that okay. Why do you find that so okay? And again, are you okay? Don't just ask the community. Ask yourself, are you okay? When you see people say crazy, have very insensitive or very narrow comments on something, ask them, are they okay? Like, for real, ask them, are you okay? And what I mean, I'm not asking if they have a tummy ache or they got the coughs. Like, are you literally okay?
You know what's so funny?
Huh?
I say that to people.
I literally, are you okay?
Like, I had a coworker at prom come up to me because he saw me and another coworker, we were taking down the prom decorations, and we took a picture in front of the decorations before, you know what I'm saying? Because we were cleaning up after prom was over. Just to, you know, before the decorations were taken down, we wanted to take a picture in front of it. I was looking at the pictures, and we were cleaning up, and one of my coworkers, you know, who's white, he said, "Hey man, you're standing around looking at pictures. You could be helping us." He comes with this big ladder saying, "You could be helping us take around these decorations." Now, mind you, he didn't want to climb up the ladder and take down the decorations though. But he was like, "You could be doing something. You could be picking up something." I'm like, first of all, we rented this venue out. We pay people to do that. And I was just looking at a picture. The first thing I looked at him and said, "You good, bro? You okay?" That's what I said to him. He later came up and apologized, said, man, he was a little agitated and whatnot. You know, but that's very good advice. Just to say, "You good? You okay?" Because the way you responding to this situation is
something wrong here. Like I think there's something in your drink. I think someone drugged you.
No, I wouldn't go there.
I think someone drugged you. No, I think somebody getting drugged. I think I'm getting drugged.
They was hanging around Rick Ross and Bill Cosby.
I don't know what to do. I'm like Umar Johnson now. I'm not trying to get mad because I know a lot of y'all mentally ill.
Suspicious.
I know a lot of y'all mentally ill, so I'm gonna build a hospital for the mentally ill. I'm about to be with Omar Johnson to build this mental hospital because it's getting kind of crazy out here. But that's my plan of action.
My plan of action is always look at, you know, any situation that you see online or any topic, and how you, if you don't agree with it, how you cannot absorb it and use it in your life if you know it's not nutritious. So if you're watching something online and you got something critical to say about like, "Oh, that's not nutritious, that's not good," then what is it that you need to do to eliminate that from your diet, from your lifestyle, from your life experience? You know, I'm getting real tired of people, you know, talking about, talking all this stuff about stuff they see online. You know what I'm saying? That's not real to them until they start doing it in their life. Like, you just now told me you had a problem with that, but I see you doing the exact same thing. So, got to make sure that we're not allowing, things with poor nutritional value to influence and condition how we, treat people and treat ourselves. You know what I'm saying? What you think, Bobby? Because we got to jump off.
I'm going to say the same thing I always say in a different way. You got to find value in ourselves. All the situations kind of are the same thing. Oh, you think Britany Griner deserves to be incarcerated across the world? Okay, you don't see value in Britany Griner. You think that there's children out here that don't deserve to get food because the mom decided to sleep with multiple men. Okay, let's find value in the children if you can't find it in the mom, but maybe we should value the mom too because she's a member of the community. Okay, let's find value in each other. Because when we do that, when we find value in each other, it's harder to do harm to each other. It's easier to forgive. It's easier to love. So I'm just going to come back. We got to find value in each other. The fact that we enjoy toxicity shows a lack of dignity, but also a lack of value because we don't mind watching each other hurt each other. It's really that simple.
Yeah.
And let me just add before we get on, let me just add this one little snippet real quick. Whether you care about the kids all the time or you don't care kids none of the time, don't sit there and say, because a lot of y'all don't talk about you care about the kids when it comes to expressing your homophobia and transphobia. Because when it comes to that, y'all all about the kids when it comes to that. But any other topic, y'all just disappear. So I'm just calling y'all out for those who do that, because y'all know who you are. Y'all know who you are who does that. Okay, I'm done.
Yeah, that's very true. That is very true. Yep. All right, Seed Talk. I'm gonna be popping up. Stuff to make your seeds walk. I'm gonna be popping up later on this week. You might see Bobby and I and Trisha, later on this week, just popping up, or even me and Elijah, some people at the grill party, man, just to engage more and make up for lost time. I don't know. I don't know if Trisha and
we are. Yep,
okay.
We're gonna have an after Seed Talk. Because we're gonna talk about the Zendaya and Kiki comparison situation that propped up, and the topic of colorism. We're gonna touch on that. I'm glad Trisha is on for this. Man, I want to talk about this topic so bad. So
right.
yeah, I know y'all got to go, but for those who got nowhere to go, stay tuned and watch our After C Talk show.
All right, peace. I love y'all. Love y'all. Thanks. Peace.